Possession crucial from this. How much longer will the referee allow? Dublin lead by a point, and there's the whistle. It's over. It's over.
We earned it by winning the last 2 matches on the road, and that's not going to be taken away from us.
But what I love in hurling, I love players that will never give in.
He hits it. It's over the bar. Oh, holy Moses.
Hello, welcome to the RTÉ GAA Podcast. Mikey Stafford here, stepping in for Jackie Hurley, who's stranded in some foreign country where she was watching some foreign sport or something yesterday. Anyway, I'm here with Rory and with Shane McGrath. How are you doing, lads?
All good, Mikey. Very good.
Good stuff. Shane, I'm going to come across all shock jock here now and say something provocative to you. I think Anthony Byrne's first goal far more skillful than Sean Kennelly's goal. What do you reckon?
The big goal now.
That touch.
Oh, it's some touch, but Sean Kennelly's goal, we're all going to be sitting down having the Christmas dinner this year, and we're going to be watching Sean Kennelly's goal on TG Cahir's goals of the year. It's outrageous.
It really was.
What, to not take any, or Anthony Byrne's touch was unbelievable, and just the way, the spin, everything. You could be a coach all your life. I don't know, can you actually ever coach anyone to do that? That just has to be in you. And then the ability to go on and finish it. But for everything that was involved in Sean Kennelly's goal, the finish, he had to go across Shane Dowling. It had to go right into that one specific area of the goals, right into the side net. And the power he got in it without taking it into his hand. Sorry, Mikey, this isn't a competition here. Sean Kennelly wins this goal. If this was match of the day, he'd be goal of the month.
Maybe it's my childhood rounders background, which makes me go, that's an easy enough skill, to be honest with you. That's simple.
Yeah.
Whereas I could definitely never, ever, ever do what Anthony Burns did. That touch is just obscene. It was one of those ones where I had to watch it 3 or 4 times before I was absolutely sure what he'd done. I just thought it's more my kind of goal. I don't know, just horses for courses.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect you to agree with me, Shane, don't worry. Anyway, we will start with the game which Sean Kennelly's goal graced. Tipperary losing out 30 points to 123 in the gated grounds to Limerick. Which I suppose, Rory, it's no, on paper, you say, oh, Jesus, Tip, not bad. Liam Cahill will be happy enough. But then you look at who Limerick are missing and you're thinking, oh my God, come the Munster Championship, that 4-point gap could be considerably bigger.
I think I suppose if you were to take it in very simplistic terms, you draw that type of a conclusion. I'm not so sure. We're assuming that all the players that Limerick are missing are going to waltz back into the team. I wouldn't be so certain about that. I think John Kiley has said about during this league campaign last week against Cork, no different again yesterday, to try and flesh out the panel, bring the average age down. I would suggest try and give younger lads, because they have been producing good talent underage, try and give them opportunities. Lots of them are starting to put their hands up. Patrick O'Donovan, we already knew about Adam English, and Aidan O'Connor. They have players that are starting to put their hands up. That's look, Garrett Haggerty walks straight back onto the team. There are certain players that will come straight back in, but not everybody. And I think he'll be quite fair in his in terms of the decision-making process. If what benefits Limerick in the long run, short term, medium term, that's ultimately what will guide John Kiley's decision-making around this. And I would have thought that Liam Cahill and Tipperary took quite a good bit from yesterday. They're two, by and large, newish teams in terms of personnel. I think for a game at this time of the year, played on pitches that are heavy, and given the amount of players that are kind of in there making their bow, I thought it was very full-blooded. Again, another victory, I think, for the new league format. Tip played really well. For me, Kennelly's goal is just, look, it was the moment of the weekend, goal of the month, call it whatever you want. When you look at the slow motion replay of it, it was just the way he eyes it. I often wonder, Shane, does an older player try that does an older player actually catch the ball and say, well, I'm not taking a chance here. I'm looking dodgy here by this not coming off. I think it was the exuberance of youth and that, like, I'm just going to double on this and flake and see where it goes. And like, look, it was a fabulous game. I think the pitches will harden up and the pace will increase, and that will definitely stand to both teams, the quality of the contest yesterday. But I wouldn't be so sure when all of those things happen that some of the older Limerick players will be automatically getting back into the team. Like the younger players have really put their hands up here. So I think it was a brilliant and very well worth it while exercise for both counties. Not a great result because obviously Limerick win again.
Yeah, well, we're getting used to that still. What do you reckon, Shane? I do think, obviously you've got some outstanding performers there, the likes of English, and I thought Aidan O'Connor played out of this world.
Eddie Stokes played well.
Yeah, but you'd have to say, when you look at those that are missing, Shane, I know Rory's right, 10 of them aren't coming back in, but like, I don't think there's going to be that big a revolution in Limerick myself. I still think 6 or 7 of them are coming back in, including Shamie Flanagan, who was actually, seems like John Kiley did the job of the CCCC here and actually dropped Shamie Flanagan for a game because of his misdemeanor against Cork. So there's certain players there who are out by the choice of the manager, but might be a more temporary thing than a long-term thing.
Yeah, I know John Kiley said he was happy and he should be happy, but like I think when he thinks about it, he looks back, I think he has to be delighted. Like Tip, I don't know how many more can come back into the Tip team for championship purposes, we'll say, and won't be far off it. And we'll talk about Tip in a second. And I do agree with Rory. I was in at the game, and from being there was a lot of positives. But I suppose what you think of here, I say if I say Sean, Finn, Barry Nash, Mike Casey, or where do they go in? They surely one of them is good enough for the full back line. I think Barry Murphy's done nothing wrong, and Dan Morrissey is Dan the Man, as he was called several times with a Limerick crowd. And then you go further up the field, and you get Becky Hannon is going to probably feature at some point, as in for some stage of games, like maybe not full games, but what a guy to bring in for 15, 20 minutes. So their half back line at the moment, like say Diarmaid Burns, Kyle. The Colin Coughlin's doing nothing wrong either, so he's great options there. Barry Nash could go wing back. When Colin O'Neill comes back from injury, he could go centre back. Kyle Hayes could go back out wing back. Midfield, they have 4 guys who could all be all-star midfielders, potentially Keane Lynch, Adam English, Darragh Donovan and Will O'Donoghue. And then you go up to the forwards and you add in Garrod Hegarty, Tom Morrissey. Shamie Flanagan will come back. Shane O'Brien, for me, is good enough to be on the team, and Peter Casey. And I just think, lads, when they get all them back, and if they're all firing, they just are the best team in the country for me still. I know they're not All-Ireland champions, but when everyone is there, they are the best team. I agree with Rory saying as well. Some of these guys then are they have a good grasp of the jersey. One, for a couple of guys for me, Adam English was going to make this year because we all knew what he was about. And I think everyone knew that this was his time.
You see him very closely, Shane.
Yeah, I would see him there with his club doing. I involved with UL there to Fitzgibbon, and like for me, he is one of the best hurlers in the country, and in the form he's in at the moment, he's up there in like top 3 stuff. Like Mossy Keown is probably player of the league so far because of what he's done for Kilkenny. But when Adam English gets going, and like he looks like a guy that's been playing inter-county senior hurling for 7-8 years midfield, such as the confidence he has in himself and the ability he has. Like a few guys then, like Barry Murphy has really put his hand up to say, look, if one of you want to come back and take the jersey off me, Sean Finn, Mike Casey, Barry Nash, you can, but I'm gonna give it everything here to make it. And he's been brilliant so far. Maybe when the thing quickens up a small bit, maybe it'll be a different game. And I think another guy for me is as I say, Colin Coughlin has been very solid. He's not doing anything wrong. But for me, up in the forwards, Paddy Donovan has been really good. But Aidan O'Connor I just think he's really kind of announced himself to the world that he's ready to play inter-county now. I think
he's awful confident, isn't he? Like the decisions he makes, there's nothing rushed. There's nothing. He doesn't take the handy option. He seems to have total and utter faith in himself, which is a lovely thing to see for a fella just coming into inter-county hurling.
Mikey, he's so physically strong as well that people don't realise how strong this guy is. Like I was involved with Aidan's club there for a year, Ballybrown, and got to see him up close a couple of years ago. And even at that, like, it's this guy is coming. But I think this year he's just really announced himself like 5 points from play yesterday. I believe 3 points against Cork, but his work rate is phenomenal. He's everything that John Kiley and Paul Kinnock want. Work rate, finishing. So I'd say Tom Morrissey, Garrod are looking on going, right, one of us is gonna have to try and shift this guy out of it. So look, that only breeds that competitiveness can only be good for the group. So look, I think Limerick are in a great place. And I suppose Diarmaid Byrnes is a guy, lads, I know we want to move on and talk about other things, but Diarmaid Byrnes is a guy, maybe a lot of people, with the way the All-Ireland semi-final went, and maybe even the first day against Cork, Mikey. And I'd say that was a nice kind of a 2 fingers up to a lot of people yesterday from Diarmaid Byrnes, 7 points, was 4 of them from play. Like, if I just think any team that's allowing him to get on ball around that 80-yard mark and just allow him time to look up and pick out the post, you're asking for trouble. So
yeah.
The Limerick they are an awesome machine, and they're keep rolling. And as I said earlier on this year, I think they're going to be better this year than what they've been in the previous maybe year or two because of the guys coming on. For Tip, okay. Mikey, quickly, I think there's a lot of positives, right? I really liked our half-back line yesterday, all right? And I like the look of it, of Shamey, Kendi, Ronan, Maher.
Experience.
And Brian O'Mara. I think that's a good half-back line. Our midfield, although probably lost the battle yesterday, I still would go with Craig Morgan and Willie Connors. I think that's good, right? So you have a good 5 there, which can set up a lot of attacks and be defensively very sound for you. I think in Barry Hogan, we have one of the best goalkeepers for puck-outs in the country, the way he's able to pick out lads. And, obviously we have our full back line. Robert Doyle is doing well, Owen Connolly, Mikey Breen. So that looks solid. And then up front then, I suppose, Jake was really good yesterday. I think he picked up 4 points. Darren McCarthy is a work in progress, and we can't expect too much too soon from him. I suppose we have high standards for him for the way he's played with Tip and the way he's played with the club and the way he's played with Nina CBS and the Harty and all these things. But it's going to take him time, no more so than it took Peter Casey time, no more so than it took Owen Cody time. It's going to take him a little bit of time to find his feet at this level. So there was a lot of positives. Alan Tynan worked hard. It's just, I go back to it, I suppose the big positive was normally in second halves against Limerick, we tended to fade out in previous games. They kept in and they kept in and they kept in. But I go back to that point I made at the start. You've 9-10 guys potentially to come back into this Limerick team, and I just feel that's just where they're a good bit ahead when all those guys are firing and ready.
Yeah, Rory, the one position I suppose for Limerick that might be a point of weakness, or at least of not at the strength of us last year, is obviously Nicky Quaid is missing. Jason Glenn got his couple of games, and our old mucker Shane Dowling was there yesterday. Nothing you can do about Sean Connelly's goal. Made one very unconventional save and clearance.
It was fantastic as well. We had a double at one end, and then we had a double on the other end in terms of clearing the ball out of his own full back line. It was superb stuff. And I think it set up a really good attack. I think Shane is actually one of the great success stories. I think people tend to forget how, I suppose, unfortunate and tragic it was that his career seemed to be cut short when he got the news and the doctor said, look, you can't play out the field anymore and potentially not play hurling anymore. So for him to work his way back in, play a new position, he's a very intelligent hurler. I think his hurling smarts will be top class. I think you need that as a goalkeeper, playing what's in front of you. Will he be able to do enough to unseat Jason Gillan? I'm not so sure. I think they'll probably stick with, because he has a boomer of a puck out, Jason Gillan. But in fairness to Shane's puck outs were top class. He was struggling a little bit early on. He then figured it out. He said, look, I'm going to vary things up, and very accurate again off the tee. All of those types of things are big bonuses for him, and it's an incredible resurrection story and a sort of a comeback story for him, and all you could do is wish him well. And good to see him get some game time again in such a high quality game and inside the Gaelic grounds, big crowd, etc. But I'd hazard a small suspicion or that Kiley will probably stick with somebody that's more accustomed and used to the position when it gets to the crunch games, just on the basis of experience alone. I think that will have to count for something if somebody's played in that position their whole careers, as opposed to somebody that's come at it as laudably as he has so late.
Yeah, you're probably right. Before we move on from this game, Shane, I would be interested, have you any experience of what John Kiley has said he's done with Seamus Flanagan? He's basically it looks like the
Smart
GA's
management again, by the way, Mikey.
yeah
I thought it was really smart management from Kylie. Like, just
yeah,
take him
but
out of the firing line, let it all die down, and move
yeah,
on.
but to admit it, Shane, to say, look, the GA aren't taking any action here probably because the footage isn't from a broadcaster or whatever. That's the reason they're probably giving. So he said we're gonna effectively ban him for a game. He didn't use that phrase, but he said he wasn't tugged out today. We were disappointed what he did, but it's over with now. That seems, as Rory says, it's probably good man management, Shane, but it's not bad PR for Limerick, who've probably had a couple of issues in the last year or two where people have been questioning the discipline of their players, and so for Jean Kiley to take it in house and they won the game, nothing was lost, but it does look like he's a disciplinarian and he's taken it seriously, kind of the actions of his team and maybe how they reflect on the group as a whole. Have you any experience of a manager doing that at all at any level where they kind of they impose an internal ban, so to speak?
I'd say Sheedy would have liked to bend a few times maybe for other things that we were doing maybe off the field, but I think no, not personally, Mikey. No, I don't really. I think it's a win-win for Limerick. I think the leadership or the principle in John Kiley maybe coming out as well. It was something that happened in school here, even with myself. I suppose it's the equivalent maybe of a lad standing for lunch while the rest of them are outside playing hurling. And just biding his time, realizing he was wrong. This is your punishment. I think it's a win-win for Limerick in regards that the punishment has been served now. Basically, it's hard to see anything else being put on it on top of that. And I also think it's a kind of a little message for Shamie Flanagan to say, look, you're not going to feature today, but just have a look at what's going on in the field there. And if you really, really want this thing this year, it's probably going to have to go up another level from last year. And that's from a guy who scored 3-3 from play against Cork last year down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, Shamie Flanagan. So, but I suppose in his overall year, like Shane O'Brien was in for the Munster final and Shamie got back in for the All-Ireland semi-final. Like, I'm sure it's a great learning for Shamie as well. And you know what, lads, he's probably taught everybody else that you just cannot get away with anything now. And if they do go down the road of using that footage, which I think you're opening up a big can of worms there as regards using just, footage to kind of cite people. I just think everybody else will have a lot of learnings from it, that what you think you can get away with, you literally can't now. Like, there's thousands of eyes watching you. If the ball is at the other end of the field, there's still somebody watching what's going on. And obviously there was a bit of niggling going on between the two guys at that stage. What Shamie Flanagan did was wrong, of course, and he knows that. He's got his punishment. I think win-win, great move by John Kiley in doing what he did, Mikey.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. Galway Clare, another game was on Saturday evening, 221 to 20-point win for Galway. So a nice night for Galway, Rory, but I suppose there's a bit of a pallor across the whole evening, really, with the death of Michael Coleman, and there was a nice moment there where they laid the jersey on the pitch before the game.
Yeah, it was very poignant and quite sad, quite tragic, actually. I mean, only there was mixed reports, 61 or 63. And I wouldn't have a huge memory of him as a player. I was there in 1990. I don't know, did he start midfield that day? He potentially did. People have already paid tribute to him in a way. And I know Delo's writing about it today in the Examiner in his piece. And look, it's desperately sad, and your heart will go out to him and his family, considering how this happened in such tragic circumstances. But it's a dreadful situation. And look, maybe if gives Galway something to fire them up. And look, I suppose the best way to honour the man was the performance that they gave and really built, I suppose, on the week before. Galway are flying, they have definitely found a couple of players. They've cast the net fairly wide. Dalo picked out Anthony Burns. We saw McLaughlin the week before. There's different people with names that we wouldn't necessarily be all that au fait with that are stepping up now and really putting pressure on, creating a new image and a new personality and a new identity for this Galway team. And if you were to have told any of us after the way they were so insipid, I suppose, against Tipperary in the first round, that after round 3, heading into the break week, that they'd be sitting on 4 points after going down to Nolan Park and beating the All-Ireland League champions at home, Not too sure too many people would have believed you or would have accepted that as fact. And look, you would have to say fair play to them, fair play to the team management, and like they really have turned things around in this league campaign. It is a strange situation for Clare now. Their next game is against Wexford. Chances are, and I don't mean this in a pejorative way, Mikey, chances are everyone's going to beat Wexford. Wexford will probably be favourites to be relegated. So the 2 points that Clare even might pick up on in that home fixture to Wexford mightn't be worth a whole hill of beans to them because everybody might end up picking up those 2 points. So it puts Clare very much on the back foot. Two defeats in their opening two games, and yeah, they have a bit of work to do, and they need to get some bodies back on the field. I would suggest ahead of Cork in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, well, do they, Shane, I suppose, or are they kind of very much taking the approach of we won the league last year, we won the All Ireland last year, so is Lohan looking at it and saying this is time to look for new players because only four of the All Ireland finalists started,
Mm.
but then you look at the who scored, Shane, it's pretty much Aidan McCarthy and David Reedy did the bulk of the scoring, so it's not like the lads who Brian Lohan is drafting in here are pulling up trees. In the scoring sense, at least, I can't really speak to how any of the new defenders went, but Galway racked up a fair total for this time of year, so you wouldn't say it was the most successful outing at either end of the field for Clare, albeit the result wasn't like it was a blowout or anything. But Brian Lohan mightn't be too bothered about relegation, but he might be more bothered about the fact that the players he's trusting aren't maybe doing what he thought they were going to do.
Yeah, there's a few stats there now I thought were interesting, right? That the Clare had 10 players involved there on Saturday night that actually weren't even on the match day panel for the All Ireland final last year. So you're looking at guys with number between 27 and number 37 on your panel there, right? And they've had to really go down deep. Like, I mean, still haven't seen John Conlon, David Fitz, Conor Cleary, Shane O'Donnell, Peter Duggan, Mark Rogers. Actually, six All-Stars there in total that aren't involved. Six All-Stars from last year's All-Star team that haven't been involved at all. So they are really going down, down, down along the panel.
They're just all following the Shane O'Donnell template now, is it? Is that it? Are Clare
Yeah,
just going to
yeah.
be a championship team from now on?
Yeah, I just think that the other Shane O'Donnell is just a different breed of a player. What he does, no one else can do. There's a few worrying things for them, I suppose. They need to get the bodies back. But the other thing is that they've had no shot at goal in two games so far, right? So that's something they're going to have to look at in regards, what are they doing up front? The other thing then as well, I suppose, is at what stage does the panic button get pressed, Mikey? I suppose is for me like that. Let's say things don't work out and you don't get these players back. Like rounds, their two last games in the league, right? Round 6 of the league, Clare are playing Cork, and in round 7 of the league, Clare are playing Tip. And if you don't have a few of the regulars guys back or the top guys back by then, you lose those games. And let's say for hypothetically now, you lose to Cork and you lose to Tip, and you're 4 weeks out from the championship, and your first championship game is against Cork. Like I just think that they do need to get bodies back. They'll probably need to get them back soon, but. So what can you do if they're not available? Like if lads are injured and stuff like that. Like I go back to Limerick. I just think that's where Limerick are still that bit ahead of everyone in that they have the Aidan O'Connors, they have the Paddy O'Donovans, they have the Colin Coughlin's, the Barry Murphys. Whereas maybe other panels, when they go down deep into it, they probably don't have the same reserves. So I think Galway had to win that game. I really do, Mikey. I think it being at home and everything. But if you look at who they have on the field. Like they probably have 11 championship guys who will be featuring. They're also developing a spine of their team with Fintan Burke, Gavin Lee, Tom Monaghan, Keenan Fahey, Tiernan Killeen, Conor Whelan. That's not going to change too much for championship. Throw in maybe Cathal Mannion, throw in maybe Conor Cooney, Declan McLaughlin. But they needed to win that game the other day at home because they needed to send out a message to their fans that the first day was not what they're about. Look, Micheál Donoghue, it is what it is, I suppose. He's gone very strong, but he got the results he needed the results because of the players he had in the field.
If your year goes as badly as it did last year, you don't, as a new manager, have the luxury to say, I'm going to experiment for the league. Like Galway's year ended so flat last year that he had no choice but to say, to get a couple of wins, to get a good feeling back in Galway hurling. It would have seemed like even if he'd wanted to experiment, it would have been a very difficult call to make given how last year went. You know?
Well, sure, like he has a 4-year contract, Mikey, right?
Mm.
Well, 4-year contract, no. But I
Yeah.
mean, he has a 4-year term. Sorry, not a 4-year contract. Be careful on what we say here. But like the thing with the GAA and the thing with top level counties is that he won't get the 4 years if something doesn't happen this year. And that's just the nature of it, like that people can be understanding or try to be understanding as much as they want. But if Galway got hammered in all their league games and Galway don't qualify out of Leinster and finish bottom, I'll tell you now, like that 4-year term might become 1 year handy enough. I seen a first-hand in tip with Colin Bonner, like, you know, that's just the nature of the game, that sometimes people say it is transition and we have to be patient. But it is so results driven that I feel Micheál after the first day went, look, I've tried these guys, it didn't work. Maybe they're not ready yet. They've a couple of weeks off now, like as in regards to regroup and have some internal games, get lads more up to speed. But I mean, I seen several guys that haven't even togged out on the 26th since the first day against Tip that were starting against Tip. And I think that's just an indication of where Micheál has gone with the group at the moment. Like.
Yeah. Speaking of transition, Rory, to matters in Wexford Park, which I watched for my sins. Should have watched the rugby. But Wexford 15 points, Kilkenny 217. Look, there's a couple of decent performances from Wexford. They showed a bit of grit in the second half. But I think Wexford have been discussed enough. There's a lack of players. It's going to be a very tough league. It might be a much better championship. My point here, though, is that Kilkenny, Rory, I can't imagine a Brian Cody Kilkenny team letting Wexford leave Wexford Park with anything to build on. Like a Brian Cody Kilkenny team would have ground that poor Wexford team into the dust and left them, you know, emotionally scarred ahead of the Leinster Championship. That wasn't actually the worst outing for Wexford. Like, you know, it was like, you know, they lost by 8 points, but like the second half gave them heart. I can't believe Kilkenny gave Wexford heart. I am shocked by it.
Kilkenny have been prone to little lapses, though. We've seen it. There's an inconsistency within their performances from time to time. They kind of have these little 10, 15-minute spells. But I think that's the nature of the modern game. Most teams do, where the opposition will get on top and it's your purple patch and it's about, I suppose, milking it for all it's worth in that scenario. I was a bit disappointed with Wexford on Saturday night. I would assume good atmosphere, local derby. Really good crowd, game under lights. You know, it seemed like the ambience and everything was set up for it. Did they score from play in the first half?
I'm not sure.
No.
They didn't win a 50-50
no point
ball.
I'll tell you, they scored 4 points in the first half. Their goalkeeper scored 2 of them from frees. And I just reading down through it. Gaelic Statsman there on Twitter, he's a dinger. So
he's very good. He's very good. Yeah,
six shots a goal. 6 shots a goal. In the first half, like, and no score from play. And like Keith Roster, he's right what he said. Like, in fairness, he's a very honest guy. He would have hurled against him. He hurled very honestly as well. And McManus alluded to it there last night. But the negatives do outweigh the positives for them at the moment. I know they've lads to come back, and they have lads come back. And obviously, Lee Chin is one of the top class forwards of the country. But I mean, no score from play in a half of hurling. Like, that is not good enough at all.
You can't be doing,
no matter what you're doing or what
as
you're
unbelievable as used to say, Shane. You can't be doing that.
No, you can't be doing that. And like at home against Kilkenny, like there would be no motivation really needed for this game, like because it's Kilkenny, like, do you know what I mean?
No.
And like as you said, Rory, like, sorry not to interrupt you, but I'm just like no score from play, and 50% of your scores come from your goalkeeper from frees. I don't know, like I just think maybe the reality is, and maybe they just don't have them, like, you know, it's just they are a group in transition. Unless something miraculous can happen for them, and you know, there's just a real motivational chat or a real honesty chat there in training now during the week to say, look lads, what have we got to lose now? But it has to be better, like. And I know what you're saying, Mikey. They gave me a bit of heart and they came back into it. The reality of this is, like, the human nature of the thing is, you look up at the scoreboard and you're just absolutely, you know, hammering the other team basically. The human nature side of it is, you just don't have the same drive, like, you know, you're looking up and you're still 14, 15 points up. Yeah, Wexford came back and they brought it back within, but at the end of the day, Kilkenny just went second gear. They pushed on for under 5 minutes, killed off the game. That game was done as soon as the second goal went in from Ossikion.
Oh God, yeah. I think I deserve
still what, 45 minutes to go, is there? Maybe more. Yeah. And it's hard for Keith Roster looking on it at it at the moment, because he knows he's missing so many, but They're just that bit off, lads, aren't they? You know what I mean? It is what it is for them. The strength and depth that the top counties have, they just don't have, and that's the reality of it right now for Wexford.
Look, the league's a write-off, but look, once we get the Rackards and George O'Connor and Martin Storey and Tony Doran back for championship, will be grand. No, I think this is the last year. I think I think staying in Leinster. I honestly think staying in Leinster at this stage will have to be about the sum total of our ambition. And then just to finish up, then a nice little segue, Shane. I don't know how bad Antrim are, but Offaly looked very good. You know, they're without Adam Screeney, but they have some incredibly talented forwards. We knew they did from that under-20 team. But, you know, Samson, Charlie Mitchell, and Brian Dignan, like these are very, very talented hurlers.
They're great lads. Killian Sampson is the guy who got to know there over the last year or so. We get hot lunches here in our school, and Killian Sampson is the guy who supplies them. He works for a crowd lunch bag. So I got to meet Killian. He's really enjoying his hurling there at the moment, Mikey. Always smile on his face. But I think it's his work rate is phenomenal there. Like, you know, the work that they're doing there, third, like say the likes of Cahill King, Colin Spain, James Mann, Daniel Burke, Oisin Kelly, like they worked phenomenally hard there yesterday, and they turned Antrim over several times. Killian Sampson chipped in, I think, 1-4 from play for himself, but that long ball he gave into Dan Ravenhill there for his goal. And like Charlie Mitchell, Brian Dignan, Dan Ravenhill, that's a serious full forward line. That if they get us a good supply of ball, it's, you know what I mean? It's they are serious. I think that so the long out of the long ball in, right? Just reading these stats. Christy O'Connor had a great article. I'm sure you often read it, guys. I think he said out of 226, the 212 came from that long ball they were able to give in to the boys and just kind of negate that crazy middle third that you're going to have, but they especially have against Antrim. I suppose they were playing fairly defensively. So I had a full forward line involved in 113 as well. So, you know, the stats are good from there. Get balls into these guys as well. But look, if I can say one thing, lads, Dan Ravenhill, I always loved him as a player. Got to see him up close and personal as a minor, as an under-20. This guy has gone to another level physically. I think physically he's got so much stronger in the last year. And that, like I was saying maybe about Aidan O'Connor, I think this guy has said, yeah, I'm ready to play senior hurling, Johnny Kelly. Put me in. Get Screeney in beside me if you can, but if not, I'll hold my own here with Charlie Mitchell and Brian Dignan, and we'll have a serious full forward line come summertime in Lee McCarthy hurling. So lots of positives for Offaly hurling, Mikey. Yeah,
absolutely.
Big time. Lots of positives, Mikey. And like I watched, and we'll see them again this week. DCU, I think they're playing UCC in the semi-final of the Fitzgibbon, and I watched them last week against Mary I, and they were backboned by a lot of Offaly players. Like, I think the Leinster Hurling Championship, and I know myself and Shane, most of the time given out to by yourself, Mikey, for being Munster hurling obsessed. But I think the Leinster Hurling Championship this year, there's a very traditional feel to the 6 counties that are taking part: Offaly, Wexford, Antrim, Galway, Kilkenny, Dublin. I think it's going to be and you maybe be able to make the case that Kilkenny and Galway are a little bit ahead, but the other 4 teams, I think, are going to be right in the mix for that third spot. And I would say that probably all feel that on a given day they could potentially turn one another over. I think the Leinster Championship is going to be great this year.
It's the championship to the Munster Hurling Championships Premier League, is it? Is that what you're trying to say? I got you.
I won't go that far.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. Look, just to mention the other 2 games, look, it did look like Waterford and Dublin won without particularly extending themselves. So, you know, there's definitely 2 tiers in Division 1B, but it still means
1B is going to be rip-roaring.
I think to get out of it, it's going to be very tough.
1B is going to go down to the last day, I guarantee you, because they're all going to take points off each other. Carlow have announced themselves that, you know, they're they're a good side. Everyone, I would have had Waterford Dublin, Mikey, in that final before any ball was put. Carlow have come into it now. Offaly have now said, hey, we're not too bad either. Antrim and Laois, I suppose, really need to get their house in order, and Westmeath as well, I suppose. But Westmeath put up a good show. But and you might know it better, but reading an article and reading several articles, reading Neil O'Callaghan's interview, I think there was some crazy decisions being made by officials there yesterday with, you know, wide's been given as points, and, you know, they couldn't understand, or they still can't understand. Maybe someone seen the way we didn't, why they're sent.
They got a straight red. I'd be interested in what that was for as well.
So I suppose all
straight red for Conor Ryan.
So these are all the small things, but I agree with you, lads. Leinster Championship, we're gearing up for it nice now with the league, right? With Offaly coming in there now, not interfere with a new Dublin, a new Galway. Obviously, Kilkenny are still going to be the team to beat. I think you're going to have a really good Leinster Championship, but I just think that 1B is going to be brilliant right up to the last day, I think.
Yeah, there you go. See, it's not all about champagne hurling. That's second tier stuff, Let's
just get this right on. Munster Championship hurling is still the best thing the GA has, bar none.
Bar none.
No, I think you just said the Leinster Championship is more entertaining.
We have
it on record.
We said it's good. It has to be better.
There you hear it first, folks. Leinster Championship's the place to be. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. No, actually, we'll leave it at that before Shane says anything to get him expelled from his own province.
Week off for hurling now.
A week off for hurling. Shane is a week off now. He's safe. Rory and Jackie will be back on Thursday to preview the weekend's football. So thank you, Shane, and thank you, Rory, and we'll chat to you again. Good luck.